There's a quote that's often misattributed to George Orwell that states the most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history. Now, many leftists like to think they're very clever by pointing out that Orwell never said that. However, I do think there's something in this quote gaining such traction whether Orwell said it or not. I think that's because such a quote speaks to the collective consciousness of Western people. I think we've known for a long time that leftist ideology seeks to undermine our own understanding of ourselves and our history in order to enforce their own agenda. We've already seen leftist ideology take over our academia and media culture. Now, if you're white, you have privilege off the bat. You also have white rage, and if you complain about being labelled this way, you've got white fragility. It was realising this that actually moved me away from leftism as a young man. I realised there's nothing you can do to placate these people here. You will be the enemy no matter what you do or say. Now, perhaps naively, I thought the Western world would eventually wake up to this scam, but it turns out I was wrong, or at least many people are brainwashed and they can't see the truth any longer. But we should remember that progressivism is about quote-unquote progress. That means they will never stop with their madness, they'll just want something else. And the thing that they want now is for us to ditch the word Anglo-Saxon. Apparently, the University of Nottingham, which is where I studied actually, wants to cancel the word Anglo-Saxon to decolonise, quote-unquote, the curriculum. A master's course has been renamed. As academics are concerned, the term suggests nationalist narratives. So what we can see here is what we see all the time with wokeism and leftism. It doesn't matter if something is true, what matters is it doesn't fit with modern-day trendy liberal ideology, henceforth it has to be changed. Unlike most of the modern madness, it started in the United States, where academics in particular have campaigned against the term Anglo-Saxon because it suggests a distinct native Englishness. Well, that's because the Anglo-Saxons were the original English, and that means they were distinct and native English people. But what's really going on here is, of course, absolutely massive. It's like a great leap forward under Mao. Essentially, the whole of our culture, the whole of our history has to be reworked to suit modern leftist ideology and their multicultural utopian dream. And I know this is a bit tongue-in-cheek, but we know what will come next. It will be insights into how Muhammad and Tyrone were the real founders of England, not those evil white racist Europeans. And this is why I keep saying on this channel, I just don't think this is fixable. I think a split is going to happen in England, the UK, and the rest of Europe. The people that actually buy into this are irrational. And not only irrational, they're completely ideologically brainwashed as well. They do not want us to have this identification. And personally, I'm not willing to let it go. One, because it's basically the truth. But secondly, because our ancestors matter. You know, understanding our ancestors is about understanding who we are now and understanding what sort of future we want. And as I've said many times, if you don't have a shared historical narrative and a shared historical mythos, that means that people start to fall apart because there's no shared story or value structure to bind a people. But it should never be forgotten that when that split happens, it's not us who wanted it. It's not us who enforced this mass immigration. It's not us who enforced this woke ideology on the rest of the culture. It's them, and the responsibility lies with them too. Anyway, that's enough madness for one day. Do let me know your thoughts down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel.